Wondering what's next in your business or personal life? Welcome to Success to Significance, Life After Breaking Through Glass Ceilings, a podcast dedicated to helping you with all of life's challenges, discoveries, and opportunities. Whether you're seeking a new career, retirement, or simply wanting to make an impact in your community or the world. Join Jen Duplessis and her guests as they explore how to start, what to do when you're in the thick of a change or growth, and how to leave a mark in this world after breaking through your next achievement. You are moments away from the aha you've been seeking.
Hey there, and welcome back to Success to Significance, Life After Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. I'm your host, Jen Duplessis, and I want to say thank you for joining us today as I bring on my guest, Joe Steiner. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jen. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this, and we've had some issues getting together, and sometimes that happens, where we have third time's the charm or second time's the charm in pulling this together. But I'm so happy to have you here, and I want to introduce a little bit about you so that everyone who's listening knows what we're all going to be talking about. You are a former professional racehorse jockey, providing private tours of the Del Mar racetrack all the time. You're also a mindset coach for athletes needing confidence, right? To place a place for them to confide and express themselves in a way that they can go into a positive direction. And I know that this has to do with your history and what we're going to be talking about today. You also are an advocate for oxygen and detoxification of health for everybody, but you really work a lot with horses. And I can't wait to have you tell the one story about the horse that you had told me about. But we're going to talk about a lot of things, but let's start with the ceiling you broke through in your career. So you can start at the very beginning, about you wanted to be a jockey, you didn't want to be a jockey, what brought all that on, and some of the trials and tribulations you had in becoming a professional jockey.
All right. So we can go all the way back to when I was about 5 years old.
Oh, wow.
And so when I was, the thing is, I came from a racetrack background, whereas my grandfather was a jockey and back in the 30s, and then he became a trainer, and then my uncle was a jockey. And so that's my mom's brother. So as I was growing up, and I'm 5 years old, I was at the races, and I looked up and I saw my uncle on a horse, and I said, that's what I want to do. I knew right then, I said, I want to be a jockey. So I set my sight on that at that point. And I was around, let's fast forward to I'm 12 years old. And a guy from down the street, we lived in a farm, and the guy down the street had a farm, and he had some race horses. And here's me. I mean, I'm working at the track, and I'm grooming horses, and I'm learning all about it, and I love it, So this guy offers me an opportunity to get on horses at his farm down the street and learn how to be a jockey. So he says, come on down. So me and another kid were going around the shed row, learning how to jog horses. And I was getting a feel for things, and I was having a blast. And then the guy says, hey, we need to have a talk. And I said, okay. And he put his arm around me, and he said, he says, I only have time to focus on one guy. And he goes, I'm looking at your parents. And he goes, I got a feeling you're going to get too big. So I'm afraid I can't work with you. I'm going to work with this other kid over here. And I said, okay. So that was ended at that point, 12, but it didn't stop me, because I knew nothing was going to stop me. So
right.
The next week I was at the barn at the track, and I was in the shed row and grooming horses again. And a little man walked down the shed row, same size as me, because I'm 12. And so this guy was the same size as me. And he says to me, yeah, he's a little tiny man. And I go, he says to me, as soon as you learn how to ride, you come down and see me. And I thought, okay. And I said to my grandfather, who is that? He said, that's Johnny Longden. So Johnny Longden, you can look him up. He won over 6,000 races as a jockey. And wow. He was he was a legend. He won the Triple Crown. He won the Kentucky Derby. I mean, all the big races and all the accomplishments of anybody's dream as a jockey. And so he offered that to me. So now fast forward, now that's 12. Now I at 15, my grandfather takes me to California, And I was learning the basics on how to ride and all that stuff. And I went right to Johnny Longden's barn at Santa Anita, and he put me on horses. The next, I ended up second in the nation for young riders that year in 1982.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was a major accomplishment, which wouldn't have happened if I would have stayed up in there in Seattle when all that was, presented at that time. So now I'll go back to 1912. Now we'll circle back. Johnny Longden is in the car with his parents, his mom, and his siblings, and they're driving. They're going to catch a ship, and they got there too late, and the ship was going off, and it was the Titanic.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh
so I'm just putting a little story together about how things don't happen. They happen for a reason every single time. Right. And so that was part of that amazing thing that I didn't realize at the time what a blessing everything was, but it was meant to be. So that was a powerful story. And that's how I actually began my jockey career, was all because of those little things falling into place. And
so tell us a little bit about your jockey career, because you've had successes, you've had failures, you've had get back on the horse again, right? Literally get back on the horse again. Tell us a little bit about some of the successes that you've had, and then let's talk about some of those broken bones.
Yeah. Okay, so the funny thing is, as I found out later on, the average career for a jockey is 5 years, and that being said, is because of fear and getting too big. Because usually, when you start being a jockey, you start as a little kid because you have no fear, and sometimes we outgrow the job. So that's kind of what happens. So I was able to go on 35 years, and it was fall down, get back up. I mean, I was always getting back on my horse because that's what I loved so much. I just loved riding the horses, and people would say, you just got busted up, in a racing accident, and you want to come back and do it again. And I'm like, I can't wait to get back and do it again, because I had so much passion for it. That's my favorite place to be. And it still is. On the back of a horse is my favorite place to be. It's such just an amazing connection to, I don't know, anybody that rides horses would feel the same way. I think it's
so. Let me ask you though. So let me interrupt you though and ask you, what is it about riding a horse? Because everyone has, I mean, I've ridden horses too. My dad had a horse. We always, and he said to me, honey, in his accent, he'd say, honey, let's go for a ride. And I go, oh God, what are we going to do? Right. Because we rode Western style in Colorado up on the mountains, and just free riding, right? Wherever the wind takes us, or the horse would run, right?
Wow.
So, but the sensation or the feeling that I have is probably associated more with my father than it is with, being on the horse, except when we could just run full out up on the top of a mountain that didn't have any trees or anything. And there's a feeling there, right? But I think everyone has a different feeling. So tell us what it is with you. Is it the awe and power of this beautiful creature that, that you're in sync with? Is it, what is it for you? What is it that makes you, love riding horses? Because everybody's different.
Yeah, everybody is different. And it's just like anything. I mean, everybody has a different experience with everything in their life. But for me, the connection that I feel with a horse when you hop on their back and their legs become yours, their mind, you're thinking like them, because you're anticipating what's going on ahead of you, and you're thinking like a horse. Actually, not like you become a horse, but you become one with them. And so your instincts are protecting them, and you're quickly just adjusting to like this oneness.
Yeah.
And for me, it's such a great feeling, because if you have I mean, I've been on over 67,000 horses through the years. So I was able to connect with every single one of them. Some of them, it's just like people. Some of them you don't really have a favor for. I mean, like it's like, yeah, we don't really
The
connect.
stride is off.
Or
The stride is off
or
a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
or maybe mentally. I mean, because you know, we're all individuals, so mentally sometimes we don't connect with other people as well as we do as other people. So there's that, we're always looking for that fit, which I had to adapt to every single one of them the best I could, because that was my job also.
Yeah.
To connect and instantly connect, because a lot of times I wouldn't even know the horse and I'd be riding it in a race for the first time. But to instantly connect and make them feel like I'm gonna win, because it's an energy that comes from you through to them. So, and that's what I do with life too. I mean, I feel like, you know what, it's this energy that we're given, that we give back out to people that we know, and for me with horses, but I do the same thing with humans also.
So you're saying I was like a horse when you met me.
Yeah.
When we met for the first time, we couldn't stop talking, right? We had just a stride. We were just, hopping along and gliding along. And, we had such a great synergy. And, I love that you can transfer that from, this beautiful, powerful animal to, I'll tell you why I'm giggling in a second, but this powerful animal to a human being, right? And this is where your mindset coaching comes in as well, is helping people understand this rhythm that they need to have in their lives in order to have that confidence to do what they want to do, and it's not bucking the system, so to speak.
Yeah, in horse terms.
Yeah, it's not really bucking this, bucking it. It's riding with it and getting in the, in the rhythm of it. The reason I'm laughing is because, I live in horse country, right? In Virginia. Right. And so we have horses all around. I see them every day. I pet them every day. People ride their horses instead of walking their dogs. They walk alpacas, but they don't walk dogs as much as they walk. So it's pretty funny. But, I had a little puppy who passed away, a dog who passed away 3 months ago, and he was a little Maltese, and he was always, he was going to get after this horse until I put him up to the nose of the horse, and just the front part of the heart, not even the eyes, right? It's like from the eyes down, his snout was bigger than my dog. And my dog would always, right? A little bit, because they're just so majestic, and they're so powerful, and they're so beautiful. So that's I digress, right? I go down a little rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But, that's what when I think about him, I think, different things that have happened. So, some of the successes you've had, you've ridden some unbelievable horses in your career. You've won a lot of races. Is there any specific race that stands out to you as the one that, wow, maybe it's some major race that you said, finally, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ride in that race, and I'm going to be number one, or my goal is to be here. What was that for you? And kind of walk us through, the feeling that you had after that race when it was so successful.
Okay, so I have so many, because like I said, I've been on so many
years. Yeah.
For 35 years, and in between all that was the roller coaster of being injured and recovering and coming back and getting back on the horse again. And one of my, I've had so many highlights. Obviously, that's what kept me going. I mean, they always bring me back. Because it just hits me in the heart. But at one point, I was, I never really had it in my soul that I wanted to go to the Kentucky Derby, but I ended up riding this horse, and I was up in Seattle at the time. And I started in Southern California, on the toughest circuit in the whole country. But anyways, at one point I was up in Seattle, and I was riding a horse who ended up being the best horse I ever been on. So he's winning the races, the big races up in Seattle. And now we decided to send him to Southern California, to Santa Anita, to run in the big race there, which was the Norfolk Stakes. And the day that we going to race, it's raining cats and dogs, and the track is sloppy mud, right?
Yeah.
And so the funny thing is, even though we came from Seattle, I'm from Seattle originally, but even though this horse had come down from Seattle, he'd never been in the mud. So now you gotta find out, does he like the mud or not?
Right.
So you're right. So I mean, and it's usually to find out the hard way. But in this case, I warmed him up in the post parade before the race and let him go a little bit fast to see if he handled it nicely, and he did. And I ended up winning the race, and it was the ultimate because it was such a big deal, and there was an inquiry, and being in an inquiry means that I caused a little bit of tightness on someone, in the stewards, which are the three principals, called down on the phone. They said, okay, what's going on out there? But as they called down on the phone, and I'm nervous because it's a $300,000 race, and I was like, oh, my biggest race of my career at that time. So I was the guy called me on the phone, and he said, is this your first grade 1 stake race? And I said, yes, sir. And he goes, congratulations. And then he hung up, and I was like, oh,
right.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
So
do jockeys get paid a portion of the purse? Do they get paid a portion when they win like that, or are you just salaried no matter what, or whatever? How does that work?
That's a good question. That's a good question, because a lot of people don't know how it breaks down. And it's a set fee. Let's say an average, I guess it doesn't really equate, because every track is different. So let's say you're racing at Santa Anita, and just to ride the race will be like $150. I'm just putting an average out there. So it's a $150 pay scale. If you finished anywhere from 4th to last. So first, second, and third, you're getting a percentage of the purse of the race. So each race that the horses are running in, they're running for, if you look in the program, they'll run for, let's say it's 100,000. Let's say the race is running for $100,000, and 60% of that will go to the winner of that race. Yeah. So 60% goes to the winner of the horse that owns, the guy that owns that horse gets 60%. So 60,000 will go to that owner. Now then he'll pay the jockey 10%. Yeah. So that's where I would get 6, and the trainer would get 10% also. So then it breaks down. That's kind of how the breakdown goes. Yeah. So first, second, and third will get 10% in those big races like that, and then the rest is like 150. So you have to win to make it worthwhile, and also I mean, you're risking life.
Well, you have to love. You have to love the sport. So that begs me, this question now is, given the fact that, you might only make $150 in this example, $150 for riding the horse and putting your life on the line and all that stuff. Is it really, I mean, I know the answer to the question. You think it's really worth it, definitely. But how many bones have you broken, and how much money have you spent fixing you versus the winnings? Did you come out ahead? Right.
Oh my God, that's a good question. The bottom line is I did come out ahead, because here I am. Because at the end of the day, I feel like life is just beginning for me now. And even though I've overcome, I mean, it's been 40 broken bones, and I was at 32, and when I retired from racing, I decided, okay, I'm going to walk away from this on my own 2 legs. Right. And I was still, I was still working with horses in the mornings because I loved it so much. And it's about timing for me, going fast. You have to have a clock in your head. So I enjoyed doing that still in the mornings. And then I was thrown off one morning, and the horse kicked me, which I've never been kicked. I mean, I've been run over, but I've never been kicked. So anyway, I broke 8 ribs in my back here. And it was actually a bit of, share that story real quick. It was a bit of a comedy. It happened in Kentucky, and it was real country. I was standing there after I was kicked, and I couldn't breathe at all. And a guy drives up in an old beater ambulance, and he says, he comes walking up. He's a big guy, kind of country, puts his arm around me, and he goes, "Well, I can tell you broke some ribs." And I'm thinking, yeah, I know I did, because I've broken enough stuff.
You're trying to say something.
Well, yeah. He goes, "Well, you want me to drive you to the hospital, or do you want to drive yourself, or do you want to get an ambulance? And I go, ambulance? I mean, I can barely talk, but thank God I got the, yeah. But if I could laugh, I would have laughed, just because it was funny, because I was a train wreck. And anyway, so that was my 40th broken bone that I had, and that was at the last time I got on a racehorse. You know, I've been on ponies since. Like I said, I can't stay away from the horses. So that's another side story to what happened to kind of finish me off in the racing world. You know, even as much as I love it, I decided, you know what?
Well, it might be another ceiling. It might be another ceiling for you to break through at some point, to say, I'm going to do it one more time, you know, and jump out of the plane, right? It's like, you know, George Bush Sr. who jumped out of your plane till he was 97 years old or something. So I know one of the things that helped heal you, and this was something that, you know, people were asking you, is like, how are you healing so fast? How are you walking around with these 8 broken ribs, you know, on the backside, right? Not the front of your body, but the backside of your body. So tell us a little bit about Beamer, right? Beamer, and what you're doing with that, you know, for people and for animals, you know, because I know you're doing some of this for yourself as well. And maybe, you know, for some of your clients. So tell us a little bit about this next, you know, I always say that your mess becomes your mission or your message, right? We've heard message, but I think it becomes a mission. For you, it's a mission. This is something now that you know, I know you've saved a horse's life. I'd love to hear that story again so that everyone can hear that. You know, but how have you put this into play with what you're doing now and your mindset coaching at the same time?
Yeah, and I think it's all part of the bigger picture. And I'll go back to a really quick story about, like, when I was younger and I was racing and I was competitive. I wanted to be leading rider. And my grandfather, who was training at the time, said, I have a lady down at the barn, and she was when you connect with people that are that are gone, medium. So medium was at the barn, and she was reading the horses, and she was reading the people, and she read through everybody, and she got to me, and she said, you should have been a preacher. And all I wanted to hear was, you're going to be leading rider, you know what I mean?
Right.
And you know, so that's part of this thing that's been going on for some reason. And I think she saw something. So that in turn, as my experience goes along, the mindset coaching, which I'm helping a lot of people with, athletes and just people in general, getting their mind in a better place. And then fast forward into, I was in Germany about 8 years ago with my wife, who's from Germany. And we were learning about this thing called the Beamer, BEMER. And we did some investigating and decided to get one. So for me, with my broken bones, I thought, you know, it's a no-brainer, because what it does, it works. It's a PEMF, which is a pulse electromagnetic signal that goes through your body, and it gets your blood circulating at the micro level, you know. So not really the veins, but they're really so, and it just keeps things flowing, and it keeps your body moving. So which helps your body heal itself. So which is kind of a no-brainer, because when you're younger, that all goes on anyway. So the more I learned about this, and this was only for my own benefit that I got into the Beamer, I started thinking, well, you know, I mean, if I could help other people, because I mean, I see what it's doing for myself, then I thought, you know what, I'll start promoting it and seeing what I can do with other people, if I can help them in their lives and their mindset, because it actually helps with your mind too. When your blood's flowing, you feel
it doesn't
better
flow
throughout.
from neck down into your muscles. I mean, it flows throughout your whole body, right? Yeah,
exactly. So it's your whole body. You lay on a mat, or you sit on a thing, or have a mat, a little pad that goes across you, or wherever you need to put it. So now the lady that I was working with, her name was Linda Tellington Jones, and you could look her up. She's an amazing icon in the horse therapy world, and horse world, and animals, actually. She's about 85, but anyway, I was working with her with the Beamer, and she created a thing called the Tellington Touch, which helps horses heal with her own techniques. and she's written a ton of books, and my wife was a huge fan of hers. That's how I was introduced to the Beamer. So she says to me, how about I'm going to send you the horse blanket of the Beamer, which they just at that time just came out. It was about 6 years ago. And she asked me to go to the track and introduce it to people at the track. And I said, well, I don't really want to go to the track with it. But I said, we were at a retirement horse place in Kentucky, and I was able to have access to old retired horses. So I asked them, you know, because my wife is an artist, and she was painting all of these famous horses, horses like Silver Charm and Game On Dude, and all these really popular, like movie star horses that are living at this place in Kentucky. So a lot of them they're older, and that's why they're there. They're retired. So I asked him for a specimen. Let's say, give me your worst horse that I can try this horse blanket. You know, this Beamer. I want to see what this Beamer does for a horse. So they brought out this horse, and he comes out of the stall walking with his back legs tripping over themselves. And I was looking at him going, what is wrong with him? And he had a condition called EPM, which is a neurological disorder where their back ends are just tripping, and they give them medication, and it can actually help them. But sometimes it gets worse, and they'll have to put him down. It's just, it's inevitable what goes on. Excuse me again. So anyway, I thought, okay, well, what do we have to lose here? He's been on medication. He's a 17-year-old horse. He was 17 hands. He made $1 million. He ran in
and he's
100
young.
races.
He's young.
Yeah, he's only 17.
He's just in worse shape, but he's young. Yeah.
Yeah, his condition was declining, and he's young in the horse world. He's old in the horse racing world. But yes, I mean, he's young in the horse, right? Right. And his condition was taking him out, and it was a beautiful, lovely horse. I mean, he was such a sweet horse. Anyway, I put this blanket on him, and the first day of nothing, you go 5, 10, 15 minutes, and you feel nothing. I mean, it's very subtle.
I've been on him. I've been laying on him.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you don't feel anything. It's like, no. Is this thing on?
Yeah.
So the second day, yeah. Is it working? So the second day, nothing. And the third day, he comes walking out of his stall like this, straight in his back legs, where he was tripping like this.
Yeah.
And everybody was looking at him like, what's going on? So the fifth day, he was bucking and playing like he was a 3-year-old kid. And I was going, okay. And so that's why I was really like, I knew it was working on me, but to see a horse or a dog who can't talk to you, how they respond, that's why I was like, it's black and white. It's as simple as that, you know. With an animal, you can't say, here, try this pill. I think it's going to make you feel better. You can't talk to them like that. You either it works or it doesn't. And that's just one example that I've seen. And I worked with this horse, and I was able to make that huge recovery where he was going to be put down. So
yeah, I think it's beautiful. And I just have it all in my mind, right? I can see this horse walking. I can see that him now bucking, and probably his eyes change too, you know.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because when you look in a horse's eyes, you can see when they're in pain, and you can see, and I bet his eyes changed, and it was probably a beautiful, touching sight for you to see. And it became your mission, you know, to continue to do that. So let's move over to, as we finish up our time together today, let's move over to, you know, what you're doing for athletes now, you know, in helping them build confidence. Why do you feel that this is something that's needed? Why this niche? Why this mindset confidence? Not so much, because I've never heard you say the word breakthrough, not to say that you haven't done breakthroughs with people, but you really talk about building confidence and changing your mindset for building confidence to become a better athlete. So tell us why that niche. Where did that come from that you felt? And then maybe you could tell us a story about someone you've helped, not giving their names, but someone you helped.
Right. Yes. I think it's because of all, like I said, it kind of goes back to maybe the medium saying you should have been a preacher, but for some reason it's not that. I mean, but it's my way of giving back to someone's soul, to to help in their God-given talent, because I'm not taking someone and going, you're going to be a great athlete, and because I'm talking to you. They already have it. They're already gifted people that I've been working with. They're athletes in whether it be a hockey player, a cross-country runner, equestrian jumper, barrel racer, golfer. I mean, I've worked with none of these things I've really done. I mean, I was a jockey. So, but what it comes down to is the mindset. And one of the things that I learned early on is you shouldn't be able to tell whether someone just, in my terms, won a $100,000 race by a nose or lost $100,000 race by a nose, because that mindset, right? That mindset is like, when you win, you're like, oh my God, how can you not feel that high? Or when you get beat that far, how can you not feel that low? Because it's an emotional roller coaster. So to be on that even plane, this is one of the biggest things that I find is the hardest things, because all athletes that I find that come to me have that. They got it. They're focused. They're really talented. They're doing great at whatever they do, and they come into a spot where they got a roadblock and they can't get through it.
Yeah.
So I'm able,
Yes.
it's kind of crazy, but I'll have a conversation with them and I'll talk with them, and sometimes it may be for an hour, and I'll have at the end of it, I really don't know what I said, because sometimes it's just coming out. It's just coming out of me. And I've had their parents a lot of times of these athletes, and in a lot of cases, will say to me, "What did you say?" And I'll say, "I don't know. Actually, I really can't bottle it up and tell
But
you."
hand over your money. But hand over your money.
Yeah, but hand over your money. So, but that's it.
Yeah.
And for some reason, every single one of them went on and were unstoppable. So, and I don't know. It's something I really enjoy doing that.
Yeah. And it's really helping people break through that 212 degrees, right? For those that are listening here and don't know what that is, at 211 degrees, water is very, very hot. At 212, it boils. And it's that 1 degree of difference. And that's why they say it's this 1 degree. But it's that nose, winning by a nose or losing by a nose, that 1 degree. And I think even in business, it's that, it's missing that goal by, dang it, right? We're missing that goal by one thing. And the psyche that it creates is, well, maybe I wasn't meant to be that, or, maybe I didn't pay attention enough. And so you start doing this negative self-talk. And then the next year, you can't even get close to the goal that you had the previous year. Because you've got this self-talk that has prevented you, rather than, hey, I was almost there. All I need to do is do 1, 2, and 3 things, and by God, next year, I don't need to meet the goal. I'm going to surpass it. Right. And that's the kind of thinking you're talking about. And this, I think, is important for all of us. It's not just, just in athletes. Although I understand the athlete mentality, because I was one as well. So I get that. I get that psyche. It's funny. My daughter, when she graduated from college, she was working for the Olympics. And so what she did is she went to all the colleges around the United States and everything, and they would have the pre-Olympic trials, right? So that you could be going even for, it's sort of like, all this Miss Colorado Springs, and then you went to Miss Colorado, and then you went to Miss USA, and then whatever, Universe. And so it was the same kind of thing. And she said, and she's an event planner. So she's there making sure everything's there for them, all their little tchotchkes and their swag bags and all the stuff that they need in the water for the but she was doing triathlons and, part of the triathlon. So she needed to make sure everything's there. And she said, I really want to have like a meet and greet the night before. Nobody would show up because one word from one athlete who's your competitor could spiral you into, circling the drain. Just a simple question like, hey, how's your workouts going? Oh, they're going great. Oh, are mine great? Or are mine just good? Maybe they're better than mine.
Yeah.
Is there something I don't know?
Yeah.
And she said, it's amazing how they will not communicate with one another, because that psyche is so important. So how do you help people break through those issues that they're having? Is it a self-reflection and creating better worth? Or is it an inside job or is it an external job?
It's 100% inside job. I mean, it's here. I mean, it's as
Yeah.
simple as that, because it's our own, it's our own inner soul that has that. But sometimes it just needs to be massaged a little bit and just kind of like, okay, it's okay, you know, and
Released.
it's not, it's, yeah, we're competitive, we're all competitive. I mean, this is life, you know, and whether you're an athlete or just living life. But I think there's just, I think people come to a spot where they just need a little bit of somebody that can relate, and they can kind of just open up. Or maybe I just touch a nerve, and it's, I don't know what it is, but like if I speak to different people, like I said, these are not things that I've ever done, but it's all in our minds, because
Yeah.
this is what either makes us go up, or it makes us go down, or it keeps us here, or you're going to accept that, you know. So,
Yeah.
and nobody should accept that, because we all need to push it beyond it, you know, and keep fighting and shooting for the stars, because that's what it's all about. I mean, it's, you know, that journey that it takes us on. I mean, this is why we get up in the morning. This is why we take good care of ourselves. So,
Yeah.
you know, and putting the right people in our lives and taking some people out of our lives, you're keeping that whole flow moving in the right direction, because you got to make it the best you can in every way you can. So it's the people, it's the mindset, it's the way you start your day, it's the way you do your day. So,
Yeah. It's
and
beautiful.
and the things that you put in here. So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
beautiful. So Joe, listen, it's been fantastic talking to you. How does someone get a hold of you? What's the best way for
they can,
someone to get a hold of you?
you can call me, I mean, if you like, or you can contact me on my email address. You know, my email is Joe J Steiner at yahoo.com. And my mindset coaching is joejsteiner.com, you know. But
Yep.
yeah, you can email me, or you can call me too. You can text me, you know, it's 626-806-7223.
Yep.
Pretty
And we'll make
simple.
sure, yep. And we'll make sure that we have all that information in the notes, right? In the show
Oh, down
notes
below.
as well. Yeah. Yeah. Okay,
Link
Joe,
down below.
what would you like to leave to the person who's listening to this? Talk to them directly. What would you like to say to them to really drive in what you've talked about here today?
Well, don't accept where you're at. Just always feel like, you know what, it can be better. I can make myself better. And knowing that someone's out there that will listen to you and help you find that, all right, I'm going in the right direction. That's what I want to be, that guy that can help you take it to another level, and feel like, you know what, it's all right. It's all right.
I love it. I
So,
love it
yeah,
that you just said, I just wrote it down too, is don't accept where you're
don't,
at. Yeah.
don't accept it. Don't
Yeah.
accept it, and never accept, because you always have to strive to take it to another level, and challenge yourself. But it's easy to say that, but when you do, man, it's the most rewarding, and that's what we're all looking for. That, what's the reward at the end of it all? What are we doing this for? What are we getting up in the morning for? What are we you know, living life for? I mean, it's to enjoy this journey and make it the best we can, and make it contagious. And that's my biggest thing, is making it contagious. You know, if I can bring something to you and make you feel better, and you can make someone else feel better, then my
Yeah.
job's done. And that's my goal.
Yeah. I love it. I love what you're doing. I love what your wife is doing. Her photos are not photos, her paintings. They look like
Oh,
photos. They're so
yeah.
real. They're so real that I think, they look like photo paintings. And I hope one day to have the opportunity to bid on one, right? To
Oh,
bid on one,
absolutely.
to get one of those in my hands. I just think that they're, absolutely beautiful. I'm looking over here, I have a lot of hunt country stuff in my office, and I have pictures of horses and riders, and just beautiful moments, and it's just, I can't wait to add it to my collection. I can't wait. But Joe, it's been fantastic. Thank you so much for being willing to be on the show. As soon as we met, I go, I got to have you on the show. We got to make sure. And I'm still counting on you and your family to come out here and visit us in the spring so that we can show you around. I can't.
We're counting on that. We're looking forward to it. I think that'd be outstanding. And we're all about travel, so I mean, it's what we're traveling family. So
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you again. And thank you so much for listening in and taking time out of your busy day. I want to remind you again to scroll down, give us a great 5-star rating, and write something beautiful about what you heard from Joe, a quote, a story, something that you could take action on so that you can break through your glass ceiling. And last but not least, click on the link to follow us, subscribe, follow whatever we do nowadays on YouTube, subscribe to my channel so that you can watch us as well as listen to us. And with that, we'll catch you next time on Success to Significance. See you later.
You've been listening to Success to Significance with Jen Duplessis, the #1 podcast for people wanting to give more value and make an impact. Loved this episode? Be sure to subscribe right now at www.jenduplessis.com/S2S for more stories, strategies, and thoughts to help you gain significance and success. And if you like what we're doing, don't forget to give us a rating and review so we can continue to bring you the best content possible. Join us next week for another breakthrough episode. Thank you for listening.